Hey YouTube, I recently did a video on this indoor golf simulator room that I've installed in my basement, and I wanted to take a minute to do a little bit more in-depth review of the SkyTrack launch monitor as well as the golf club golf simulator game. So yeah, here's some highs and lows of each. I guess first of all, Um, I wouldn't buy one of these without getting this. SkyTrack makes um, this full metal jacket, is what they call it, full metal jacket, metal case. At first, I didn't know how necessary it was going to be, but after being in here and my daughter plays down here and other neighborhood kids from time to time, as well as other adults that uh, caused me to be concerned. This is invaluable. I don't remember exactly how. I think it was about $100 for this metal case, but it's taken several hits, and I just feel a thousand times better about anybody who wants to come down here and play. This metal case is fantastic. So the SkyTrack unit is this. For those that haven't seen it, there's a lot of kind of reviews online, but it just basically screws into this case, and then this case has adjustable feet. Comes with a level button on top so that you can level it. But overall, I found the hardware as well as this case to be really robust, and I just don't have any. I'm careful with it, of course. I try not to jar it, but overall, I think it's well made and relatively easy to use. I updated the firmware, I believe, when I first got it. I should say I've had it 6 months, so this is kind of a 6-month review. But I don't know how many shots I've hit on it. I've hit a lot. I've hit so much that I found that I don't know if you can see it, but maybe not in the lighting in here because the lighting is really bad. But I'm cracking golf balls on a regular basis now. I don't know if it's just wintertime dryness or what, but I think a normal golf ball, when you play it in a round, at least for us amateurs, they may or may not last a round, and they may not ever see another round after that. But these, I'm hitting them 100 times a night for several weeks, and these I'm cracking golf balls left and right. I got a whole pile of them over here. So I've hit a lot of golf balls down here, and I have to say that the launch monitor itself is really great. Occasionally I would say one in, I don't know, maybe 100, one in 150 shots doesn't register. And more often than not, although I rarely have an unregistered shot, I have a friend who, for whatever reason, his pitching wedge, when he hits a pitching wedge lightly, it just doesn't like that swing. It doesn't like that club. And he gets, he'll get 3 or 4 unregistered in a row. The only time that I get an unregistered shot is when a weird one. If I don't know, if I chunk it or scald it and it doesn't just know what to do with it, it'll reject it. It is an indoor golf simulator. It's a fantastic piece of technology, but it's not perfect. And anybody who has an issue with that, good luck. I guess there's the $25,000 TrackMan that it must have been made for you. But maybe once around I'll get a rejected shot or a rejected putt. That happens from time to time, but overall I find it to be really accurate. And I've heard a lot of different people say they question its accuracy, or they're hitting shorter or whatever. Very few I read that people find that they're hitting longer, but I think that most people just don't really know how far they hit, and they think they hit it longer than they do, or they're counting the roll and not the carry. But for me personally, I'm not a long hitter, and I don't have high club head speed. So you know, it performs about the way that I hit. I mean, if I hit a slice, I know I hit a slice, and it'll slice. And likewise, if I hit a draw swing and I do it right, it'll draw, or at least go very straight. Because I'm a natural slicer of the ball. But yeah, I have no complaints with the launch monitor itself. I think that it really works well. The software that it came with is now being shown here, but you can find it online. You know, other videos with showing the SkyTrack software. I did the game improvement plan because I wanted to do simulator golf, and you have to do that. So I've mapped my bag, and that's a useful tool. But to be honest with you, I installed this to just practice, to hit golf balls at a time of year when I couldn't, and to enjoy it with friends. So you know, the bag mapping tool is helpful. I do find that you know, swinging indoors, whether you've got the room to swing or you don't have the room to swing, definitely affects your swing. Regardless if you're worried about hitting the ceiling or anything like that, which I'm generally not. I have hit the ceiling in here, but it doesn't. I don't feel like my swing is restricted. There is something extremely unnatural about hitting a golf ball at whatever 150 miles an hour into you know, something that is directly in front of you. No matter, you know, the fact that you know that it's not going to come back and hit you. I guess maybe there's a thought that you could shank it into a pole, or you know, something else in here that is always in the back of your mind. And so, you know, it's no fault of the launch monitor at all, but I do find that, you know, I think that there is, when it comes to like relying on it for distances and relying on it for, you know, mapping your bag and stuff like that, there's you know, a little bit of a difference between inside and outside golf. You know, I think that it's going to be uniform through the bag, so you know, you could map your bag and you're going to have, you know, just everything's going to be a percentage shorter or a certain number of yards shorter, but yeah, all in all, I don't think it's that big of a discrepancy, but there is a little bit of truth to kind of an indoor swing phenomena. But again, none of that has to do with the SkyTrack. I use it in whatever, I guess it's called network mode, which is wireless. I don't have it plugged in when I'm using it normally. I just plug it in when I'm done using it. Unless for some reason we're having a big party and you know, it's going to be used for more than 5 hours or so, then I'll run the USB down and I'll plug it in. But other than that, it sits on the floor and it's not plugged in. It's connected to my Wi-Fi. I don't have connection issues that often, although occasionally, and I don't know why. I've got crazy fast internet. I've got fantastic routers, and don't have any issues with anything else. But from time to time, it'll lose connection. That in and of itself isn't a problem. But when it comes to the golf club game and playing locally with players, it is a problem, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute. But it's easy, it connects easy, it connects quickly, and for the most part, I don't have any connection issues with it. I really haven't had any issues at all with it. A handful of times when I first got it, I did have to bring some of my Wi-Fi mesh down here closer to this room. And once I did that, any issues that I had at the beginning all completely resolved themselves. Yeah, I'm totally 100% happy with it. I highly recommend the Full Metal Jacket, and just really have zero complaints about the SkyTrack at all. I think it's fantastic. The software that it comes with is fantastic. I think it's really useful. I think it's really neat. And yeah, I think it's awesome. Now, with regards to simulation, I downloaded the free E6 Golf trial. 30-day trial when I first got it. That whetted my appetite for the golf simulation, which I pretty much knew I wanted to do anyways. But it, I really had some issues with the way that the E6 Golf both looked and played. And although I don't have that up now, I'll describe them to you. The biggest issue I had with E6 was I didn't like the pay structure for the course packs, and I didn't like the way that it handled chipping and putting, particularly from the fringe. When we played E6, one thing I did like about it was that E6 could you could input the number of putts manually if you wanted to do that. So you could play a normal virtual golf, and then when you get to the green, you could just say I 2-putted, I 3-putted, or whatever. And that worked well for our simulator room because we have a putting green here with several different options on right to left breaking putts and left to right breaking putts and straight putts and different distances that, depending upon where we landed our ball on our approach shot, we would have a specific spot that we would have to putt from that's more difficult or easier depending upon where your ball was. And I really like being able to input that manually. Again, that's great for local players and just my buddies playing a round of golf in here, and it let us actually putt a ball into the cup. The golf club game doesn't have that option. If you're going to play tournaments and online and stuff like that, then you have to putt virtually with the software, and that's really the way that the golf club game is set up to accommodate that. So I do wish that there was a toggle, though, that if you're not playing, online in a tournament or whatever, that you could input your number of putts manually, because especially when I have beginners over that aren't used to virtual putting, I mean, it's a disaster. It is so difficult for people to judge green speeds when you don't have a green to deal with. So for me and some of the people who play here on a regular basis, it's much easier, much more intuitive. But if we were able to say we're not going to virtual putt at all and we're just going to do real putts, that's much more easier for people to grasp and to do. Even if they're not great putters, they can still putt it into the hole eventually. Whereas virtual putting could be back and forth, just Happy Gilmore it all day long. And so I wish that the golf game had an option to manually put in putts. But E6 Golf did have that option. However, you couldn't putt from the fringe, and that's a big problem if you find that the launch monitor it doesn't like to pick up swings that are really, really slow and soft. So if you've got a really finicky chip from the fringe that you've got to chip 4 yards, it's impossible to get it close, because you'll hit 4 balls in the launch. You have to hit it so softly that the launch monitor doesn't realize that that you're even swinging at it. So you end up having to hit it well beyond the flag or maybe over the green or whatever, and it's a disaster. They really needed to put in an option to putt from the fringe in E6 Golf, and that was a non-starter for me. It was too frustrating, and I didn't like the pay structure for E6 Golf. So I decided to go with lifetime license of the golf game, and I bought it under the guise that I would be able to, because they advertised 2019, the golf game 2019 coming out at the beginning of this year, that I would get, instead of waiting to buy that I could buy it and get a free upgrade to the new software when it's released. I was anticipating that maybe a month or so ago. I did get, at the beginning of January, I got notice from, I believe Skytrack sent it to me, I have to check, that there was a form to fill out to beta test the new software, which I opted not to do because I didn't want to screw up anything that I have going here, and I like it. and I could fill out a form to an free upgrade form. So I'm on the list for that, and I can't wait for that to happen because I hope that they've worked out a few bugs with regards to the golf game software. My biggest gripe, and really my only gripe, overall, I like this golf simulator a lot. I don't, you know, I have maybe 20 courses that I've saved as favorites that I really like. And I went online and I printed out from one of the forums, some recommended courses, and I've been working my way through those and saving them as favorites if I like them. So sorting through good courses and bad courses is a little bit tricky because there's so many courses out there and made by so many different people. But there's tons of good courses, so there's just so much to play. We're set up here on what is this? Augusta number 13 right now, but lots of courses, and they're all really, I find the graphics to be great. I never had opportunity because it's not offered with SkyTrack anymore to play Jack Nicklaus Perfect Golf. I have no idea how it compares to that. It really doesn't matter because it's not an option. I don't remember exactly what this cost, but I think it was $700 or $800 for the golf game for the perpetual license. And I'm tickled pink. I love it. Everybody who comes over loves it. I just have zero complaints about the playability of it. It's great. The biggest issue that I've got with the golf game is really two issues. The first issue, it has to do with the connectivity of SkyTrack. So you can't save profiles of friends. So I have a regular group of people who play here, and I can't save a profile for them. And that's not necessarily that big of a deal, but the problem is that if the SkyTrack loses connectivity for some reason, and I've got to shut down the golf simulator and restart everything, and we're on hole, doesn't matter, we're on hole 12, it will save mine because I'm the owner and I have a profile. It will save all of my information, but it will, if we've got a foursome playing in here, all three of the other guys, it will be as if when I restart the program and restart the round, I'll be the only one in the round. It'll be as if they never were playing, their scores are gone, and it's a real problem with having to get back into stuff. It's a real issue. I mean, hopefully we can remember what our scores were. We'll just go to hole 12 and try to play it out, but it really sucks when that happens. And it has happened, at the most inopportune times, I swear. On a day-to-day basis, I don't have any connection issues at all. I'll have a big party with a lot of people, and all of a sudden, it just doesn't want to connect. Or I'll lose connection, and it'll just be a fiasco. But it doesn't happen very often. It just happens at the wrong times. But it would be much better if you could save a profile locally for a friend. I just don't understand any reason that you shouldn't be able to do that. Even if it had something to do with the online play, I still think that they should be. I mean, if my buddy wants to come over and compete in an online tournament using my software and my stuff, and I'm allowing it, I don't know why that would be a problem. I think the more the merrier, and it's silly. Maybe he'll go buy one himself. So I don't understand the point, but hopefully they fix that in the new simulation software. The other thing that I don't like is the screen between shots. So if you are playing with multiple people, you never know who's out. You never know who's next, and it can be just a little bit slow in trying to figure out who's going to be next. So I'm on the tee box here, but I'll just quickly hit this. Whew. So you'll see after the ball lands, I know that I went 50 yards there, but this screen should tell me something like who's going to be playing next. and it's frustrating that it doesn't. It'd be nice if there was, once we've all hit, there was something up here in the top that would say who's going to be hitting next or who's going to be playing next, because a lot of times you'll hit, or in putting in particular, you putt once and you go and sit down and then you realize, oh, I'm still out, and it wasn't obvious. So if they would put something that said who was out, or even on the map, although these maps change for different courses, the way that they're set up, they if it made it more clear whose shot was next, that would make the pace of play better. And it sounds crazy to try and increase the pace of play in here, but it would be useful. And I think that people who have this set up know exactly what I'm talking about. Other than that, I really can't think of anything that I would change. There are certain idiosyncrasies with the programming, whoever built some of these courses, but that's not the golf club's game's issue, and that just comes with having kind of an open source type of an environment. So yeah, anybody who's on the fence about buying a SkyTrack or trying to determine which software to get, this is the direction that I went. Are there better launch monitors out there? I think so. I've seen a lot of reviews on comparing accuracy of this to some of the others. And I think that this is as good as, particularly when it comes to value, I think this is about as good as you can get that's attainable by most. I don't know about most, but it's attainable. I mean, the next step up is going to be another, $3,000 or $4,000 beyond the cost of this, and then the really fancy stuff is, 5 digits, and that's insane. Although the way that they work and the software that they have is fantastic. I mean, for just an average Joe, I think it's great. I mean, it works, and it works well. I'll rewind this shot here.
And clunker in the fairway.
So I keep a keyboard mounted here to the wall that I can use to aim and stuff. I have a bit of a tendency to, we'll say, fade the ball. Got caught in the trees.
Beauty.
That's exactly what I did. Well, that's horrendous. That'll work. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. You can check out my other video if you want to see more about the golf room. I hope that was helpful, or at least encouraging to anyone who's on the fence about thinking about buying one of these. Again, I think that they're great. It's done nothing but kind of enriched my practice experience. I have not taken it outside or used it on the driving range or anything like that. I've only had it 6 months, and I've had it over the winter. So really, up until now, I haven't had a chance to hit golf balls outside. But it's incredibly fun, and I highly recommend it. If you're on the fence about getting one of these launch monitors, I would say jump in. And if this is in your price range, I'm telling you, I personally think you can't go wrong with it. If you can afford one of the more expensive ones, then great. But I don't think that you'll be disappointed with this. So I hope that you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions that I didn't cover something, and I probably didn't, but if you have something that you'd like to ask, and I can help out with it, I'll certainly do that. Feel free to put a comment below. I'll respond to them as soon as I can. Like I said, check out my other videos, and if you found this video helpful, feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. So yeah, good luck and hit 'em straight.